To you. It's a beautiful Monday morning here in the capital Accra, and I am honored to be your captain to serve you nothing but sizzling breakfast on this beautiful ship. Welcome to the show. Please stay tuned in from now through till 10 a.m. I will bring you a lot that is happening here in Ghana and, of course, across the globe. Many things. For you as a commuter, how much did you pay for your transport fares over the weekend? Was the same price? Were drivers able to reduce the prices for you? Did you find it difficult convincing these drivers that, well, according to GPRT, prices have been reduced, and so you must reduce the fares that you charge me? I'd love to hear from you. Later on, I'll open the phone lines so we can talk about it. Finally, the reasoning behind the 3-2 majority decision on the throwing out of the injunction to the injunction on the suspension of the Chief Justice has been put out into the public. I'll tell you more about that particular reason and a lot more. Please stay tuned in. But let me start by motivating you. For this morning is by Robert Tew, who says, the struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow. So don't give up. Now, this reminds me of something I was discussing with someone a couple of days ago. And we're talking about our struggles and all the things we've been through. And I was telling the person that, but just take a casual look and look at the pattern. Do you realize that all those things were necessary detours? Sometimes you may not realize it now, but later on you know that everything that you went through, every path was actually leading you towards something. Whether it's a mistake that you made unknowingly, sometimes even knowingly, everything eventually leads to a certain path that you were supposed to be on. So don't beat yourself too much. Don't give up. Just stay on course, find your lane, and stick to it. Let's help you improve your English language writing and speaking.
Today's word is a long one. ONE-UPMANSHIP. One-upmanship. It's a noun. One-upmanship is a situation in which someone does or says something in order to prove that they are better than someone else. Let's exemplify it. Each of the lawyers wanted to prove their one-upmanship on social media. One-upmanship.
Nurain Abbas. You had to use Thaddeus Sorry and Godfrey Dummy. But hey, it's also one of the things that we'll discuss here. I mean, venerable lawyers going at each other on social media. What does this do to the image of the fraternity, the legal fraternity? I mean, for you out there, is it pleasant or it's a normal thing? Should they be allowed to continue? Well, we'll talk about all that and more here on the show. And just so you know, today we'll also talk about schizophrenia. A lot of you have misconceptions. A lot of you have thoughts about it. So we'll try and demystify all those thoughts and misconceptions here on the show. Let me pump you up. It's a beautiful Monday morning so that you can go out there and earn your keep. What are you thankful for this morning? I'm thankful for life. And I am thankful that I get to spend my mornings with you every day of the week. It's a beautiful thing to do with you. Well, it's now time for Inside Out. Out this morning, we want to find out from you as a passenger, as a commuter. Have transport fares indeed been reduced for you? How much were you paying before? And throughout the weekend, as you went about your normal rounds, attending events, did you realize that transport fares had been reduced? Last week, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, the GPRTU, in collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, stated that owing to the reduction of fuel prices and the appreciation of the cedi against the dollar, transport fares were to be reduced by 15%, which was to take effect on Saturday, 24th of May, 2025. However, a lot of passengers have complained the drivers are defying this particular directive. In Accra, I have seen passengers complain. I've seen passengers in the Ashanti region complain. Passengers in the Volta region also complain. But where do you live? Where do you commute from? Were you charged same prices over the weekend? Even this morning, as you're going about work and going to earn your keep and going about daily activities, have transport fares reduced for you? I'd love to hear from you. But let's watch this video.
After months of rising transport costs, commuters sighed relief as the Ghana Private Road Transport Union directed a 15% reduction in fares effective Saturday, May 24th. GPRTU says it comes in response to a drop in fuel prices and a strengthening cedi. But has this promise translated into reality? At the Pwamang Circle Bus Terminal, some drivers incensed described the decision to reduce fares as unfair. One such driver accused the government and politicians of being inconsiderate towards drivers' livelihoods. He noted that drivers have been forced to cut fares when no other sector has been compelled to do the same.
Fair because many years at fair. And I got told a 50 pesos, 50 pesos. I got told 10 cedi. I got told 5 cedi. At the end of the year, Joma Moje, where did the 2 man and what is the Pamono? Because Monko so can come as a debony at and no bed found that it's not 1.5. Pipe who have injectors for people, not 1.5. Break food for Tegana, stay good in a home. Now, on my money now, the one who say. Now, for entity a lot of first, President Mama said,
several drivers confirmed they reluctantly implemented a 15% fare reduction, but are demanding the government to ensure that the cost of other essentials is adjusted accordingly to match their reduced income.
And also higher. A catch up and say, come here, the agenda na because I had diesel almost out to me.
Lord Fede Atiso, Babuki Fins Yanteso. Cowan Afonso Sonte almost says so. Maybe I have a papa on mine when I ever wearing now, but Mr. Amonganja landlord for almost one more dance. A very rough one ever for a car. And so more down so. Miss Rama landlord phone, any rare control phone. Or more months that was saying, sir, Chroma Ghana, driver for a bed demonstration at your landlord for.
Charles is a fair young community that yes, but this will be that's the confusion ever to me. The men Chassis, your penny. Yatina mi bisa ni zone so matter so na the entire G10 city so say 9 city
ye ba sisia na ka me ko kaneshi ba minya problem ti mi ya maka o ka chem se fe dada na no no oje apani apa say there be problem ni nti mi tia 4 city ni di manu mi manu 3 city kwa o so onje enti fe ni dia ebi nje ebi teso ye ba media sisia mi ba mati media no so
kakra ha mende What's odo? Ewe yan ele. Babako baby no baby so want to do. Often cement, bako stores be a mon and wa na no man kitten. So by the man you see the yim. This abano me Asian then go by there. The way what I start here do. Nanka one hour can so where to order sir. Maybe be I come. So until I'm there, no, you see your bonenjodo.
So guys, I'm in Circle right now, and the car loaded us, and the car has come back to the station because we are refusing to pay the actual money he asked us to pay. The government said 50%. He's saying that he's not going to take that 50% from the money. And now we are on our way. He has brought us back to the station that we should get down.
What a country we live in. Now, the irony is that if transport fares had been increased, right, drivers would be the first to reduce. If fuel prices had been increased, drivers would increase transport fares. And the moment there was a directive to increase transport fares, they'll be quick to implement it. But when the opposite is directed at, they fail to implement it immediately. Why is it so? I mean, some have justified it, but we all know that the city has appreciated against the dollar significantly. Fuel prices have also been reduced. So what is stopping these drivers from reducing their transport fares? I'd love to hear from you. The phone numbers are on your screen. Please call me. Let's have a little chit-chat this morning about transport fares, whether or not where you live or where you commute to and from. Transport fares have been reduced for you. Let me hear from you. The phone numbers are on your screen. Kindly call me. Let's have a smooth conversation. But please note that turn down the volume on your TV set and please keep it short. Hi there, caller. Good morning to you. I trust you're doing well. Your name and where you're calling me from.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I'm doing very well. I trust you're doing well too.
Yeah, I'm doing well by His grace.
Great to know.
Yeah, you look so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm calling from Cape Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, precisely UCC.
Okay.
And my name is Maurice.
All right.
Yeah. Please, the reduction, the fare, I think is good. But the direction that it came, I, for instance, I heard it from the PRO of GPRT. In his statement, he said the reducing of the fare is their quota of contributing to the resetting agenda.
Is that what he said?
That's what I heard from this a Muslim man, the PRO.
Okay.
I mean that statement. I mean that I can say that statement is also creating problem. That very statement that is their form of contribution for resetting the Ghana. It's mandated to you.
I've not heard that particular sound or that video, so I cannot ascertain to the veracity or otherwise of it. But we'll try and find out more. But I have another caller. Hi there, caller. Good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling me from?
Good morning. My name is Megina, calling from Sunyani.
Your name again, if you can speak a bit louder.
Megina from Sunyani.
Okay. Please talk to me, sir.
What the caller who just ended is saying is right. He granted him interest and he made that statement publicly. And it is time for us to tell the people straightforward that sometimes when the price increases, do we wait for them to go for a beating before they come out with the increment of the prices? Immediately it reflects. And once it goes against us, we struggle to pay. Look at the people that were in the spare parts and the rest. When the prices increase, do they come out and tell us that they also know how we also struggle before we get money to buy their cars? What kind of analogy is that? If you stop those things, when the dollar stabilizes, doesn't affect the dollar, the other people who import Recently, weren't you aware that these Abuzo Kaim people told us that they were going to decrease the prices of their goods and services, their products? What are they telling us? So what's the meaning of that? So if they go to market and then people also say that they also use the dollars to buy, to import some food, would they accept it? They should leave us, give us a break. And when it's for decrease, they should decrease it. If it is increment, they should increase it. Rather than giving us excuses. Please, we don't like those kind of assumptions from the drivers.
Okay.
Give us a break. Nobody is feeling free somewhere. We are all squeezing ourselves. So your business, do not take us and be greedy and taking our monies like that. We should forget about that analogy that they are coming out with. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, too, for calling us. I do appreciate your calls this morning. Kindly call me. Let me hear from you. Well, the two callers say that the drivers should heed to the directive. I have another caller. Hi there, caller. Good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling me from?
Good morning. My name is Etonam. I'm calling from Ho.
Okay, Etonam, talk to me. Have transport fares been reduced in Ho?
So, okay. Please, I want an education on this because I drive the keke.
Okay.
So I want to ask whether the keke, the tricycle, because I know we have been put under something like Tricycle Union Association or something like that. I don't know whether we are part of GPRTU.
But you have a mother association. Is your mother association part of the GPRTU?
Kindly, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That's why I said I want an education on that because, frankly speaking, we are in the town. We take 2 cedis 50%. We do town running. We take 2 cedis 50%. But when the increment came last time, that we added 50% to our fare. So right now, if they are slashing 15%, how much are we supposed to take now? Because it's only 50% that we added to our the old distance. Now they said we should do reduction. And frankly speaking, when the increment came, our masters, our keke owners, it increased our sales. So right now we don't even know what to do. So if there is an education,
does that mean that your owners have also adjusted the money you need to give them, because now the prices transport fares have been reduced? Since it was the monies you were supposed to account for were increased the last time, has it been adjusted downwards now that transport fares have been reduced by your masters?
No. They've not reduced their sales. They've not reduced their sales. But they are taking the same sales, like when they also increase their sales. When they increase the lorry fare, when we added 50%.
So it means you also need to reduce it. If it's 2 cedi 50, now you need to go back to the 2 cedi and then discuss with your owners on the sales.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for calling me. So that's Etonam all the way from Ho. He says he drives a tricycle. That's it. Unfortunately, I cannot take any more calls. Okay, let me take my final caller this morning. Hi there, caller. Good morning to you. Your name and where you're calling me from. And let me know, have transport fares been reduced in your locality?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm Idi Adamosma, calling from Larbanga in Savannah region.
Okay, talk to me, Idi.
I think lorry fares have not been reduced in the Damago municipality, West Bengal municipality.
Okay.
But I want to comment something a bit.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hypocrisy and double standards is what is killing this country. I remember under Anyaa, the same thing happened. Drivers were pressured to reduce lorry fares. They vehemently refused. And people who should speak against it were quiet. So that attitude emboldened them. You remember, even we are talking about increases in prices of goods and services. I remember under the Anyaa administration, this 40% benchmark value was given was given on some goods. The businessmen in this country enjoyed it, yet they went ahead and increased prices of those goods and services. Government spoke against it. People who should speak against it, journalists, religious men, politicians who should speak against it, rather supported them and said that their businesses is not dependent on only the dollar. Their business is not dependent on only fuel prices and other factors. So what we told them yesterday is what they are repeating today. So we should not expect the drivers to adhere to this directive, because even we had a point where GPRTU national leaders were in support that they cannot reduce fuel prices because their activity is not dependent on only fuel. It's not dependent on only the dollar. They buy spare parts. So when you make politics with everything, this is what will happen to the country. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, too, for calling and speaking to us. Unfortunately, I cannot take any more calls this morning. That should do for our Inside Out segment. But we'd love to hear from you still. Please log on to our various social media pages and then leave your comments there, prefix it with GH Today, or you can just attach it to it at the end of your comment, hashtag GH Today, and I'll do well to probably read them here on the show. That's it for Inside Out. Let's quickly head to the courts. It's not time for court today, and Captain has joined me. Captain, good morning. How was your weekend?
Good morning, Lily. My weekend was it was okay.
What made it okay?
So this weekend the EPL ended, and we saw a certain group of people.
I don't know why I was expecting you.
Yeah, I know what you are arriving at, but no problem. We'll deal with it. You know that at some point in time, when Arsenal qualifies for in fact, we make the top 4, there are some people, when you come to London, they wear blue. They throw insult at us. That top 4 is our trophy. No problem. We played second for the last 3 seasons, and we are in pain that it's not good enough. There's a video that I would have wished I would play to you to watch. Yesterday, when Liverpool were celebrating the EPL trophy that they won, we all acknowledged them. We all gave them that, yes, they deserve to win it, and they've been the better team this season. But a certain group of people just managed last day of the season and entered the top 4. Lily, the celebration. So now I asked the question. What has changed? Celebrating top 4. Yeah. Chelsea. It's as though they have won the EPL.
Certain personalities on social media celebrating. And I was quite shocked. I am tempted to mention names, but I'll leave it.
There's a word I want to use, but I'll hold on. What has changed, Lily? I'm asking, what has changed? All Chelsea fans, good morning. Now we know that you can also celebrate top 4. We are watching. Top 4 that they have crucified us now for. Today, they are. I hope when Jones comes, he will show you the video that I'm talking. Celebration, Hey, Chelsea, now top 4, you are celebrating, not the trophy. Yeah. IB and Co. I've asked them the question, and all of them, they have deviated. But Lily, we'll move on.
Absolutely. What's up on course this morning?
Yes, Lily. On the 16th of May, we reported on a case about the director of passport. On your screens now, pretty surely we'll see that. Kissi Asante, the director of passport on your screens over there. And the reason we reported or we brought him in was the fact that the High Court in Accra was dealing with a case involving an accused person. And at some point in time, the court observed that we are in an era where biometric is all about it. You obtain passports through biometric. So as you can see, that's the director of passport, Kissi Asante, on your screens over there.
And it's not as if he's done something wrong, but we want to explain to you the basis of that decision taken by the court. And when the court observed that an accused person was in possession of at least 8 passports, including one that was issued in 2010, which has not expired, and on top of that, he's been given biometric passports, multiple of it. So in this context, Justice Marie Louise Simmons wants to understand how this whole issue plays out in the passport office. So the court extended invitation to the passport office, and then to ensure that the director of passport or his appointed officer will come to the court and assist the court understand how one person can be given more than one passport when we are in biometric times. And we are being told with biometric, once your biodata enter into the system, once you want to go again, it will bring you up. So the first letter went, the court did not have anybody from the passport office. The second letter went, the court did not have anybody from the passport office to come. And then the third time that the court sat, the court said, no, the court needs an assistance. And for an invitation to have been sent to the passport office, and it's been acknowledged by an official that his same has been received, means that it has been brought to the attention of the director of passports. So the court expects that if he or his appointed person will come to the court and assist the court is not saying that the director of passport has done anything wrong. And the understanding that we got is that even at the time that this accused person before the court has been presented or was issued with all these passports, Kwesi Asante was not the director of passport. So he cannot impute that he's done anything wrong. That is not the basis. The bench warrant is not to suggest that Kwesi Asante, who is the director of passport, has done nothing wrong. Now let's look at what happened after the court issued the bench warrant. And Lily, on your screens now is the certified true copy of the 19th of May proceedings, when lawyers and the officials of the passport office went to the court, urged on the court, and the bench warrant was issued. But in this context, what is the subject matter within which the bench warrant was issued? So the accused person before the court is, so we have the title, The Republic versus Dominic Williams. He's the accused person. He's the one that the court noticed that he has multiple passports. So the director of passports, you could see the absence. Director of passports is represented by Mao Leclou, Deputy Director 1. It means there's the Deputy Director 2 and all. Then counsel for the passport office announced himself, Hakman Khalila, for the director of passports. She is a deputy director at the Legal and Treaties Bureau of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And you know, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the passport office is under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then this is what counsel for the director of passport told the court that day. He said, my lady, we are here on the instructions of the chief director of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to prevail upon the court to consider the withdrawal of the bench warrant issued against the director of passport on the 16th of May, 2025. We wish to indicate that the absence of the director of passports to court is no means intended to contempt the court, but as a result of internal circumstances beyond our control. We wish to further assure the court of our continued support and collaboration in providing verification for the trial of the matters before the court. We consider ourselves partners, and in the light of that, we are here today with the deputy director to provide to the court any information required in respect of the matters before the court. The director of passport is presently outside the jurisdiction, meaning he's out of the country. We close by praying the courts to graciously withdraw the bench warrants. So that was the position or the submission made by lawyers of the director of passport when they went to the court after the bench warrant was issued. By court means that what is the decision of the court after hearing the submission of counsel for the director of passport? The court said,
With this information provided to the court from counsel, and with the assurance of the ministry to work with the court and to comply with the orders of the court to provide the necessary information, the bench warrant issued against the Director of Passport on 16th of May 2025 is hereby accordingly withdrawn. Meanwhile, the court still expects the clarification of explanation on the contents of the letter issued dated April 4, 2025, is provided to the court by way of a report through the registry. And this is Justice Marie Louise. So this is the certified true copy. So that particular bench warrant has been issued. But the point really is that Kwesi Asante, I have seen a lot of some reports suggesting that the man in fact, they are imputing crime, that he supervised this supposed multiple passport being issued to one person. But the point is that at the time that these person before the court, the accused person before the court, obtained all these passports, Kwesi Asante was not the director. And the only reason he came into this matter is by dint of the fact that he is the director of passport. And by dint of the fact that he's gone to court to explain to the court through the deputy director and the lawyers, the court has rescinded the bench warrant. So all those who think that he was the one that supervised that particular passport issuance, you are wrong. And you need to understand the context in which the court indeed issued the bench warrant. And now, upon the appearing in court, and then through counsel, the court has issued a bench warrant. But after this one, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a statement. Director, we can look at that statement, confirming what the court had done, or the decision or the position of the court. In the press statement that they issued, High Court withdraws arrest warrant against Director of Passport. But in effect, what we are saying is that Kwesi Asante has done nothing wrong by way of this whole matter. He was not the one that supervised the issuance of the multiple passport. In fact, you understand that the key role that he's playing is the reason that we have the new passport system in the country, and the fact that it eliminates the Goro boys in the system, and that certainly, just like how the Cedi is appreciating, that the dollar is depreciating, those who are trading with dollar are having issues now. It is the same concept. So now the Goro boys are having issues because then times when they have the opportunity, they can have some try to get, and it is through the actions of the Guru boys that one person is in issue with multiple passports and all of that. And in his administration, he was appointed in August 19, 2024. So a little over a year ago.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the issuance of the passport happened way before he even came in and all of that. But he was the subject of bench warrant because of the dint of the fact that he is the director of passport. And of course, that is what has happened, and that is what we are sharing with you this morning by way of this particular case.
Okay. What else are we looking at today?
So, Lily, today, the committee dealing with the issue of the Chief Justice, yes, today it will be the fourth day that the committee is sitting, but it will be the second day of hearing, and it will be the third time that the Chief Justice is expected to appear before the committee. We cannot tell you much about what is happening before the committee, but what we can tell you is that, yes, today the committee will be sitting, and of course, it is expected that the witnesses are testifying and they will appear before the committee. So that's one of the things that we can tell you this morning in relation to the petitions received by the president and the committee dealing with the matter. Today will be day 4 that they will sit.
Day 4 of the assessment. What else are we looking at?
Skytree.
Is Professor Anyaa Kofi better now? Have you gotten any information from his lawyers yet?
So on the second day that it was brought to the attention of the court that he's not well, I think that same day after the case was adjourned, I read that he said today he will be in court to have his plea taken. So the expectation is that Professor Christopher Anyaa Kofi will be in court to have his plea. 3 of them
Absolutely.
And I'm still hearing his name.
Absolutely. Those days when we were in secondary school, we were here, Professor Christopher, Anyaa, and all of that. I think I have never had the opportunity to be that close. Maybe today will be the day that I'll get much closer to Professor.
Close range,
and we are so that is one of the cases that is coming out. Then NSB, National Signals Bureau. Okay. Yes, today is a day for SkyTrain, NSB, and all of that. So today he's in court, and what is expected to happen is for case management conference to be conducted. At the last court sitting, we didn't indicate that prosecution says that their witnesses have signed their portion of the witness statement. He was released on bail, but was arrested in respect of another matter. But we hope to see him in court, and that is one of the cases that is coming up also today, that tomorrow or at Newsroom will update you. And of course, the Cecilia Dapa's case and the matter involving the maids. So today, Justice Marie Louise Simon is expected to make a ruling in respect of whether to admit caution statement and interrogations done by the OSP of Madame Cecilia Dapa and the husband into admission. Prosecution opposed to the admissibility or the tendering of that document on grounds that it has no relevance, because that one was a charge statement obtained from Madame Cecilia Dapa, and currently Madame Cecilia Dapa is not on trial, so you cannot use that statement. But the accused person and their lawyer, through Lawrence Oredu Pwamang, is of the view that if there's monies in relation to interrogations done by the OSU, that forms the basis of the charges before the accused person. So we'll be in court and monitor all these actions, and then in our subsequent bulletins, and tomorrow we'll bring you more details.
Absolutely. Captain, thank you very much. So that's Mutala Inusa with court today. Let's bring you what's up in the sports world shortly. It's our time for the sports chats, and the man who's always outside is inside this morning. Jones, ADZI. He's a big man. Good morning, Jones.
Oh, I'm not a big man. I'm a small boy, please.
Hey,
my helper will be watching me now. I'm a small boy, please. Help me. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. And, Kets has been all over the place because of EIB Sports. And he's been speaking to Monica. And I realized that on the morning show, for our viewers, they've not been able to get to see or hear what Ket has been saying. And, the Ghana Premier League does not have a sponsor. So Ket says that, next season, yes, we are going to get you a sponsor. Let's get to watch Ket Okreku speaking on the sponsorship of the Ghana Premier League next season.
We do not have is a headline sponsor for the Ghana Premier League. Okay, so it's a face in the life of the league. What is true is that the marketing department, the ESCO of the Football Association, have been working behind the clock. Either behind the clock or around the clock or in between the clock, just to make sure that we get key partners to support the Premier League. And I'm very sure that it will come very soon. I say this all the time, and the question people ask once I make such a statement is that, oh, how soon will it come? And I'll answer by saying that it's coming. Okay, I think that we've been working quite well. I don't want to speak too much about what is going to happen in the upcoming season, but what I know for a fact is that our clubs will be happy.
Our clubs will be happy, according to Ket Okreku.
We're waiting with bated breath.
Yeah. And then he spoke on the pitches. Yeah. Ket is saying that, Charlie, there's been some improvement too. We've been working hard to make sure that our pitches are put in some good state. Let's get to watch him speaking on the state of our pitches right here in Ghana.
Media has improved a lot. Our pitches have improved a lot. Club licensing manager, club licensing committee, club licensing department have been at the forefront of the push for excellence. It's also true that during the bad weather season, we do have challenges because of lack of adequate water. That's also true. Just like it is also in some parts of Europe during the winter season where the pitches go bad. What's also true is that there's a need for more investment in the maintenance of our stadia. What's also true is that we need to improve on our culture of maintenance of our stadia across the country. So yes, I would be happy about how far we have come, but yes, I think that there's a lot more that has to be done. Because if we want to enjoy football the way it has to be enjoyed, clearly there's a need for more investment, in not only in the protection of lives and property, but also in the maintenance of our sports infrastructure.
So the full interview will be replayed again. We'll try to get it for those of people who missed out right here on GHOne TV and on Star 103.5 FM. Let's get to the Ghana Premier League. Hearts of Oak won on Friday, we know, so it's fine. But then Kumasi and Asante Kotoko were held. Hey, you're dancing. Hey. Okay. So Hearts of Oak won on Friday, but then on Sunday, we saw Nations FC getting a 3-0 win. Let's get to see the full results of the Ghana Premier League happening. That happened on Sunday. And then, of course, we also saw the likes of Kotoko. They held Bibiani Gold Stars to a 0-0 draw. So there you see a full results there. And Dreams FC beat Berekum Chelsea by a goal to nothing. Bechim United and Basake All Stars settled for a 0-0 draw. Idiana.
Basake.
Yeah. Yes.
Lantam loves that team so much.
Idiana also beats Lagos Cities 4-0. Nations, who are top of the Ghana Premier League table, will continued their winning streak here. So they do have 60 points. Bibiani Gold Stars are second with 57. Kotoko are third with 55. Mando Out of Lions, they lost. Surprisingly, I was hoping they could win and then bring the cup to Volta so that we would have some bobo, but Charlie Amfa. And then Accra Hearts of Oak are now fifth with 52 points. Let's get to see the relegation table. Yes, and then from the 13th, Young Apostles have 40 points. Karela United are 14th with 35 points. Basake All Stars are 15th with 38 points. And then we see Accra Lions, they do have 35 points in it. So don't forget that Legon Cities and Sowutuom are already relegated. Let's come back to Division 1. And then in relation to the Ghana Premier League, because Hohwe United, as things stand, they've qualified, yes. So this is Hohwe. And it's beautiful. If people don't know, come to GHOne. So the Hohwe Sports Stadium was filled yesterday. And then, Lily, can we pause here, Director? So there you have a surprising one, because, yes, Honorable Peter Amewu is the owner of Hohwe United.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
I didn't know.
Yes, he's the owner of Hohwe United. And then that is Honorable Efo Walanyo Chekbo, the new MP in Hohwe. And both of them, so the NDC and NPP, sitting together, enjoying the game yesterday as Hohwe United qualified to...
Football brings us together.
Yes. So they've actually qualified for the Ghana Premier League. And the celebrations were wild yesterday. And so, Honorable Peter Amewu, and that's what football does for you in our part, in fact, in the whole world. So the jubilations were wild. And then guess who also gained qualification? Swedru All Blacks after 16 years. 16 years of not being in the Ghana Premier League. And there you see some wild jubilations there. My grandma is in Swedru, so I'll get to pass there, hopefully. But then celebrations were wild in Swedru as well, as Swedru All Blacks also gained qualification to the Ghana Premier League. Let's get to the English Premier League, because Antoine Semenyo, yes, scored a brace yesterday for Bournemouth against Jordan Ayew's Leicester City. And so this is how the season ends for Antoine Semenyo. He's actually scored 11 goals and has 5 assists in 37 games for Bournemouth there. And then our own Kudus Kudus Day also got a goal yesterday. Yes, Kudus also got a goal yesterday. And then he also ends the season with 5 goals and 3 assists in 32 games for West Ham. So congratulations to Mohammed Kudus and then Antoine Semenyo. Antoine Semenyo getting 2 brilliant goals for his side to make sure that they end the season very well. And Jordan Ayew was also in that. Actually came first yesterday in the Monaco Grand Prix, and then he won it for the very, very, very first time. So congratulations to Lando Norris, making sure that he gets his hand on the 7th race of the year, and then he does well to get his hand on it. And coming off to win from the likes of Lilac and then Lewis Hamilton there. Congratulations to Lando Norris for winning the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's finally end up with the NBA playoffs. And because the Knicks beat the Pacers to win Game 3, yes, in the Eastern Conference Finals. So highlights of that game on your screens now. And it was interesting. Don't forget that the Pacers, actually, Indiana Pacers, won the first 2 games, and they were looking to get the 3rd one and then make it a 4th game. But then, well, the Knicks had other ideas in there. So that game ended 100 to 106 in favor of the New York Knicks. All right, that should do it for sports at this morning. Do join us on the game at 1 p.m. With Monica and then Joe. We also want to announce that we do have a new show coming up on Star 103.5 FM. It is the Star Sports Digest with myself and then Benghazi from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. every day, Monday to Friday. On Star 103.5 FM. It will be on Facebook as well. Okay. And then on Saturdays, we have the Arena with the Boys. It's always fun. And then there's always a song of the day. And the song of the day on Saturday was No Shortcut to Heaven for Manchester United fans. I was looking for you on Friday, but I didn't get you. So No Shortcut to Heaven.
Really?
Yes, for really? Manifest. For us Manchester United fans, No Shortcut. Congratulations to Liverpool, crowned champions. Congratulations to Barcelona, champions. And of course, Napoli, they are also champions of the Italian Serie A there. All right. My name is GHOne Cedi, Zedai, and of course,
you're outside.
You're outside.
Thank you very much, Jones, for that sports chat. I take a break here. When I return with my guests as we try to do a bit of postmortem of all the issues in the country, especially leading the pack will be the reasoning behind the dismissal of the injunction on the removal of the CJ. You're welcome back to the show. This is still GH Today here on GHOne TV. I am Lily Mohammed. It's now time for the breakfast review, and this morning my guests have joined me. My guest this morning, Dr. Dickson Adomako Kissi, is the former Member of Parliament for the Anyaa Sowutuom constituency. We are waiting on Kwadjoga Adawudu to join us from the NDC communications team. He's also a member of the NDC legal team as well. But Doc is here. Doc, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Morning. I'm doing quite well. And I'm happy to be here. It's Monday.
I know.
Yeah,
I love Mondays sometimes, not all the time.
I'm
Monday sets the tone for what will happen in the week. Very much, yeah. But there's a lot to discuss this morning. We start on constitutional matters. I call it a constitutional thriller.
In Manila. Oh, this is in Ghana.
In Umofia. Yeah, so the removal, I say that in court, of the Chief Justice. She's been suspended. The sittings will actually continue today. Today will be the fourth sitting for the committee sitting on the petitions. Now, on 6th May, the Supreme Court, in a 3-2 majority decision, dismissed the application for injunction on the suspension of the CJ. And we didn't know the reasoning. Now the reasoning is out. One of the things that I find interesting by Justice GHOne Kolendi, who says that he thinks that in good conscience and in fidelity to our judicial oath, we cannot endorse a position that could potentially be exploited by deliberate and well-resourced strategy deployed by individuals or entities pursuing parochial private interest to obstruct, delay, and frustrate constitutional oversight and hold the public interest to ransom.
Well, let me use the opportunity to say good morning to your fantastic viewers. And also, let me almost plead and make this thing that I'm hoping that my comments will be always spoken about in its entirety. Sometimes you leave the studio and, there are snippets of what you say, and it's mistaken. But I'll be very clear and concise today. Let me start off with the whole thing. There's some key things that are worrying, okay? One, not to remind Ghanaians of the past, but you see, the NDC has always made judges vulnerable.
How so?
The NDC, from its inception, like I said, I don't want to remind Ghanaians of the fact that judges were eliminated in this country in our history, not too distant history. And the party that was responsible for this grave sin to the judiciary was and is the NDC. So I would have thought that the NDC would try and distance itself from that brand of a party that makes judges vulnerable. Unfortunately, they are being consistent in making judges vulnerable, and it's unfortunate. And I'm troubled by the many goodies in NDC, except for this one, which I think is becoming a hallmark of the NDC party, that when they are in power, judges will be vulnerable. Now, I say this with the greatest of respect to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. In the scheme of things, during the campaign, maybe his lawyers should have advised him not to make statements insinuating that when he comes to power, he'll clear the Chief Justice. Perhaps if our current president had not promised without making known to Ghanaians that there will be a future petition which he will stand on to make his movement, then me being here would have thought that this whole thing is not a grand scheme. It's not a conspiracy. And that we are not hanging somebody out of a campaign promise we made. I see
Was it a declaration of intent, or just pointing out something he thought was the bias of the judiciary?
Listen, let me appreciate the fact that His Excellency felt that this Supreme Court that let Atuforsen go scot-free. Okay? And there are cases. But for me, I remember the NDC coming into the chamber in all white in celebration of a judiciary that under the MPP administration cleared Atuforsen.
Was he
you
cleared?
Understand? Oh, I mean, okay, let me not use the word cleared.
Okay.
But ruled in favor of Atuforsen.
That suffices.
There are many cases. We can go into many cases. I know that people felt that, yes, in some of the cases, the justices swung in one direction or the other direction, and that they felt that it was under duress or in some ways under the direction of the executive. So I'm here wondering that if we felt strongly during opposition that the executive was wielding too much power over the judiciary system, then why come and exact the same thing? So from a moral perspective and moral ground, whilst in opposition, the NDC touted the fact that the justice system was supposed to be independent of the executive, independent of parliament or the legislature. And for that matter, they were pushing for that and gave birth to some of their campaign messages. And I know, I mean, listen, people can go and watch. Did the president not, as it is, promise to remove some of the justices or literally undo the workings of Nana Addo Dankwa with regards to the judicial system and, more importantly, our Supreme Court?
The composition.
The composition. And I am here just making a strong case that perhaps the president's lawyers during campaign should have just prompted him that should this come to pass, then people will say that, Mr. President, you not necessarily spoke into being, you're not being prophetic, you are being deliberate in your attack on the judiciary once you assumed office. So for me, not a student of law, being an ordinary citizen, I worry based on what I know, at least in my small thinking with regards to philosophy and justice, that you call a dog bad and you hang it, and this is what's happening, and I think that is worrying. So fast forward to some of the statements of Kulendi, a very sharp brain in Ghana. I respect him. He's handled many cases. His reputation precedes him, but at a certain point in time, we all make some mistakes, and this idea.
And you think this was a mistake he made?
Well, in law, if there's no room for private individuals to, as it is, draw the jury or the judge's attention to matters of serious importance, then there'll be no room for people to add their opinions or opinions to be admitted in court. But I know that in the wisdom of the court system, it makes room for an individual to come in and make a case that, hey, listen, I think that this person is innocent and has been, hanged or been taken to, as it is, firing squad, and that something has to be done about it. There's room for that. So, and to interestingly say that a private entity or an organization is using monies to forestall or upend or, as it is, stop the judiciary or a process from going through. I don't think that is being fair. And especially, I think that at the end of all of this, we have a professional body.
Sure.
And it beats my mind that justices who should be defending, and forgive me, I'm not saying that if you are a lawyer, you defend every lawyer, whether they are wrong or right. But I am looking at it in the scheme of things that the justices are rather, as it is, offloading their power to the executive and making themselves more vulnerable.
How so?
And my whole point is that, listen, when we were in Parliament and the executive and the party felt like removing Osei Chairman Sabonsu, some of us stood up against it, not because of Osei Chairman Sabonsu, but we felt that as a leader of parliamentarians in Parliament, our voice ought to be heard strongly and clearly, and that we should have a huge stake in the removal or a huge determination or contribution in the removal of our leader. And for that matter, it was unacceptable for the executive body to wake up one day and decide that, Parliament, the leadership of Parliament, we should change it. Okay? And I stood on my grounds for Osei Chairman Sabonsu, not because I liked him, but for the power that the position holds. And if we should allow our leader of the House to be just removed, or as it is in a coup d'etat type way, then all of us as parliamentarians literally have just, dished out power or authority or autonomy to the executive.
But is that not what we've been witnessing over the period?
And I stood on the same grounds to also fight for Afenyo Markin, because that principle still held when we were ending the 8th Parliament and the executive. And let me add that the outgoing executive was also considering changing our leader again. And sometimes if you hold a certain principle, hold it in all esteem and in high esteem, till. So my key point here is that the justices should rather be loud on protecting their own person, not by virtue of the fact that she's just a judge, but by virtue of the fact that, listen, you are literally toying with your vulnerability in the system. There are 3 arms of government, and it didn't say that the executive should have 70% of the power, and then the 30 be split.
Autonomous.
You understand? It's supposed to be that. And for that matter, I think that one of the key questions that this private individual, and it's Vincent, Honorable Vincent, makes a very, powerful point that, listen, we agree with you that you want to run a certain program per what the Constitution requires, but why, as it is, suspend a woman before even hearing her out? And that is where I want to remind Ghanaians that, for me, looking at the campaign messages of our current president, and his focus and his intent, or as it is, wish to disseminate this woman or the position of the CJ, or as it is to work so hard to undo what Nana Akufo-Addo did with regards to the Supreme Court. I worry, and he must admit that in the scheme of all of this, posterity will judge us for sitting down, for somebody to have a preconception, premeditation during the election period, and then to execute it whilst in government, to the letter. And I think that this is one conspiracy that has been handled daylight, and I won't say it's tangible to daylight robbery, but this is happening, and people are not waking up to really appreciate the fact that, listen, I worry that any other president would come, and forgive me, it might be a fool, forgive me, and that fool then would say that the checks and balances, which is the other arms of government, he's not going to necessarily work with them, or he's not going to necessarily bring people who will question his actions. And for me, democracy is what we are practicing, and there's a strong need to look out for the vulnerable. Very strong need. So if you are toying with power and you fail to appreciate the vulnerable people in society, then democracy dies, really. And then we tilt more into autocracy. We tilt more into literally making the executive have a more stronger balance of power. And that is where I worry. It was so unfortunate for Nana Akufo-Addo in his second tenure to have a Speaker of Parliament who literally had an ideology very opposite of his ideologies. And I must admit that there were positives to that, in the sense that, the president was wielding power, and in your second term, you feel more powerful, okay? And Nana Akufo-Addo, I can admit that in his second tenure, because it was his second term as a president, felt so powerful, but having a Speaker of Parliament who was with a different ideology really made things a bit quite difficult. And in appreciation of democracy, I think that it helped Ghana to win, in the grand scheme of things. So my concluding statement is that, one, under the NDC administration, it is seeming that judges are made vulnerable, and I think that brand of the NDC ought to be carefully looked at. It can't be that the administration always makes judges vulnerable. And I, for one, I'm not a friend, a lover, or whatever of the current Chief Justice, but it is the position. And I think that the position in our democracy is so powerful and should not be trampled over. And the president's lawyers should have advised him during opposition on the campaign trail so that he did not preempt or pre-state that when he comes, I will, as it is, execute or exit this woman from her seat. That, for me, is so telling. And if in opposition we felt that the justices were under coercion by the executive, why do the same thing while in power? I was really hoping that the NDC would, as it is, if we were wrong, learn from our mistakes and toe a certain line that... But then
why not allow the process to take its course? The committee is sitting, they're hearing the petitions. If it lacks merit, it will be thrown out. If there is merit, then the due process will be followed.
You see, the beautiful thing about all of this, one of the key things was that, okay, why suspend the woman? The processes could have also played out without suspension.
Is spelled out in the Constitution?
No. without suspension. And then let me add one key thing that let's look at the two, as it is, scenarios. One president looks at it, his counsel states that, oh, this thing doesn't hold the merit to, as it is, take action on a CJ. You see, Otumfuo is always, as it is, dethroning some of his people, but it must hold water for the position. And then another, campaign comes, and under his leadership, the executive discretion he has, and the Council of State then determines that the same thing. And you know what strikes me as very interesting? And I wish that this can be answered. One of the things that I've heard some people talk about is the fact that this woman made a recommendation that we should expand the justices' numbers, and she was thinking about 5. And here we are. One of her sins, was that she didn't consult the legal counsel for that. Fair enough. We did not even prosecute that in the 8th Parliament because the NDC raised it. And I remember actors in the NDC making a strong case that there's enough justices. Ghana doesn't need enough. I mean, more than that. And
unfortunately, our constitution doesn't put a cap on it.
I agree. But they made a case, which, I mean, some of us were, clapping for them. That, this makes a strong argument that, for a country of, just 30 million people with high court judges and all that, why add? Okay, now, as we're dealing with her case, in relation to the expansion, which was one of her recommendations, we hear His Excellency then brings 7 fantastic judges. Nothing against them. But my key point is that we're hanging this woman for a recommendation of 5, and yet, in the same breath, before completion of this case, we then have His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, then propose 7, which then makes the whole thing rather a bit inimical or incongruous, because just about 6 months ago, the party was screaming, "Hey, don't add to the judiciary. You shouldn't." And listen, some of us, we felt that politically it made sense. I mean, Obama struggled a whole year to confirm one justice, a whole year. So if the NDC was, putting us on our, toes for 5, fair enough. It's politics. I remember Afenyo Marcus. In fact, some of us in the majority, minority, then whatever you'd call it towards the end, were so a bit unhappy with our leader because he was pushing heavy for the confirmation of the additional judges, and we felt that, listen, we would have done the same if we were NDC. You're leaving office, you have 3 months or so to leave office, you are trying to put judges in the Supreme Court. We would have done the same. And I felt that, listen, the Republicans, stopped Obama for a whole year, not 3 months, not 2 months, a whole year. So, fair enough, it's a political game. But you don't come and within 120 days, as it is, as you are eliminating ordinary civilians from their jobs because of some coloration of MPP or whatever it is, though it has affected all party members, then you also want to eliminate the CJ. And I think it's the grandest of all mistakes. Though, in the 120 days, very well qualified, very well, experienced people have been let go home because of their seemingly good working relationship with the MPP administration, though some of them worked some of them were even, as it is, appointed during the Mahama administration before Nonado. And let me add, the NDC worked so well with Georgina, is it Wood?
Yeah.
After Kufuor, installed her. So what has really changed? What has really changed? And yes, some people compare the Electoral Commissioner thing, but please, Electoral Commission is not the third arm of government. Neither is it the second arm of government or one arm of government. Okay, and does it make it right if the MPP made maybe a very bad mistake? Does it make it right that the NDC should repeat it? I hold the NDC to another higher esteem and expect them for the kinds of things they said during the campaign to come and do, things at variance from what the MPP was said. One killer thing we'll talk about maybe in the future, which I think is so ridiculous. Personally, I was okay with the president riding in private jet. I felt that ordinary executives in this country ride in private jets. So if our whole president rides in private jet, I mean, what's the fuss? Some people made a fuss about it. And within 6 months in office, you are presented with a case where whether you, GHOne, paid for the ticket or not, an executive within this government, not the first man, the second lady, literally, has been moved from UK to Ghana in a private jet. So I mean, as it is now, I think that the NDC has shot themselves in the foot in terms of the grand things they said that they felt were so unacceptable, and they are in a situation where they've had to, literally do against what they were preaching. So these are my few observations as an ordinary citizen and as somebody without a legal mind, and I think that these are worrying for me.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So Victor Kwadjoga Adawudu has joined us. He's a member of the NDC legal team. He's a legal brain. Since you mentioned that you're not a legal brain, maybe he'll help us with some legal education this morning. We're talking about the reasoning behind the dismissing of the injunction for the suspension of the CJ, and he's made his points known.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning to Doc, and good morning to our cherished viewers. Let me apologize. This morning I just had a little emergency. That's why it's unusual of me. That's why I'm a bit late. But let me start with the suspension and the dismissal of the injunction. I think that the suspension of the Chief Justice is constitutionally anchored. When you go to Article 146, you read through the clauses and everything.
But Article 146, it says the president may. It's not a shall.
It's a discretion. It's a discretion that has been imposed on. So in his view, and the view of the Council of State, after the prima facie case has been determined, then that is when he can decide or go ahead whilst investigation or the committee is set up for you to. And so the Constitution grants him that power, and he exercised that choice. So it is constitutionally grounded. But to come and be saying that, I've heard several theories by people they are saying, but you see, the basic principle in law is that when the law says a particular thing should be resolved in a particular manner, and it sets down that procedure, that is the procedure that has to be adopted. You can't say that, because he didn't say this procedure, and that procedure is also part of the law, we should import that procedure into it. It's just like when I'm going to have divorce, or we want to file a divorce, the law says that I should come by a writ. A writ will include what is issued from the Chief Justice Secretariat, who sign, and my story. That will be a petition to the judge. But if I file a writ, the court will throw me away, because since I've come by petition. So this is what the Constitution 146 says, that should be the procedure. Now, if you look at the procedure, it says after the prima facie case, then a committee is established. So it's not just that you file a petition, the petition is filed, then the committee, no, that's all the court said, and with the Constitution. And it has the discretion. So is that discretion anchored in law? The Constitution, it's anchored in it. Now, what happens is that after the committee is set up, now the right to be heard what we are asking for. So we are putting the cart before the horse. That what he asks for, the right to be heard by her, who will hear her, and her lawyer or an expert of her choice, will now be brought in. But I understand the dynamics in all this matter. That, he asked a question that why is it that during Georgina Woods, the NDC worked well, and why we can't work with her. You see, during Georgina Woods' term also, and I can tell you, that was 2009 to 2010, there was a petition for her removal. That petition that was for her removal, that was the President Mills, may he so rest in peace. He and the Council of State looked at it and said, look,
there's no merit.
There was no merit. So, silently, because he didn't come out and publish it, people didn't know that there was a petition against her. That was how she just left. So, if there is merit in it and a prima facie case has been established, then that's when you are given the right. But you see, I understand the minority. They are trying as much as possible to infuse the constitutional provisions with politics. And all the politics that is coming in is to make it the process to be polarized. That is why you could even find this Kumi, Adenta Kumi, the petitions they have brought, and if you look at the clip, it's a load of baloney. Just somebody, because even if I'm in a case and I meet a judge somewhere outside, maybe I go for a funeral, so I go to greet that judge. Or in a restaurant, you go to say hello, exchange pleasantries. It means that we've had discussion. This is a load of baloney. Now, if you look at the injunction, what the court is saying, it's saying that it's a constitutional provision. That's what the Constitution says we should follow. So if you are asking for the right to be heard, before the prima facie, that is not the procedure that the Constitution itself has laid down. It is after the committee is established that you are given the opportunity to be heard. And you should be heard in camera. Now, the reason why the framers of the Constitution wants you to be heard in camera, that you do not scandalize or embarrass any of the Superior Court judges. That at the end of the day, if he heard in public, the person is embarrassed. All kind of allegations are made. The witnesses that come before and the process. How does that judge go back to do his work when he's absolved or she's absolved or vindicated? So it is to protect the state and protect the people who come in there. That is why the Constitution says that it should be in camera.
Shall.
Yes, it shall be in camera because we want to protect the person.
But this person says, I want to waive that right.
Yes.
I want people to see that, okay, this is what I have done. I want to exonerate myself or be incarcerated in the eye of the public.
Yes, but how about the right of the witnesses, the right of the other people who appear before the committee?
Right.
How about the rights of the committee members?
Okay.
The committee members. And I don't think that one person's right will supersede that of. So it is a balancing act that they will have to look at. Right? There's a good reason when you read the memorandum or you read the Constitution why the people felt that it should be in camera. Because, you see, there's a position of a Superior Court of Judge. It's a position of responsibility. They play God on earth. We call them my lords, right? They play God on earth. And there is some kind of sanctity that we look at the position, reverence with the position. So it is like nobody comes and throws in some mud against you. It is heard in public. It's all sorts of things are said about you. Then at the end of the day, you've been absolved. Once you've been absolved, how do you go back there to work? And don't forget that we bring in senior judges, the Supreme Court judges. There are 2. So if there is a banter exchanges, which is in public here and there, how will they reconcile and work again if the person, so there's a good reason. Yes, I agree that people want it to be public. Now, if you want that to be public, the Constitution didn't say so. And we can't say that because it is in vogue that there should be a public hearing and everything, so that is the way we have to go. I think that if that is what has to be done, then we need to look at Article 146 again. And once we look at it again and the court pronounces on that, then that's what we do. It is of recent that the courts has also decided to allow cameras into the courtroom to see what goes on so that justice is seen and it is done. So I think that we are trying to jump the gun. And my colleagues on the other side, they have always been looking for scandal. They are scandal thirsty. They want to see what kind of scandal that this present government, His Excellency John Mahama's administration, there will be scandal. So that they will launch.
Is it looking for scandal?
Yes.
Or looking at it constructively and objectively? Because prior to election 2024, some members of your party had made comments regarding the removal of the Chief Justice and even the Electoral Commissioner.
No. You see, where the president made a statement and he's being charged with that statement, which is being misconstrued, I was present there. It was when the NDC lawyers met. And when we met, he said that upon assumption of power, the judiciary has to be overhauled. And he said that presently, and that was the time, he said presently, the leadership of the judiciary, which he thinks that they should be able to start the overhauling, will not be able to do it. At the time, His Lordship Enim Yeboah was the Chief Justice. It was not Her Ladyship Gertrude Tokonu who was the Chief Justice at the time when he made that statement. And that statement, he never said that when I come, I would remove the Chief Justice. He said that it has to be overhauled and there must be a balancing act, that the lawyers should also prepare to be able to go to the bench. When you are going to the bench, you are not just appointed, you go through a process. And that process, even NIB, goes through your background check, the school, everything you went. Yes, they will know your political coloration or you are neutral, what do you think, your ideology. It goes through a process. So it is not easy to say that today I have come, so I'm appointing you, go to the bench. It never happens like that. You go through a process. So that is what is being judged with, and saying that the president said, when I come, I'll remove it. That's a conspiracy theory that is being imported into. And there had been petition. You see, he said that 7 judges has been appointed. They don't have a problem with that against what the 5. Do we have that as content of the petition? Nobody, as we speak today, knows the content of the petition that has been sent. All that we've heard is speculation and conjecture that this might be the reason. Yes, maybe people are gleaning from this petition against that of what Professor Azar put out at the tail end of the Akufo-Addo administration, where he also talked about the 5 judges being done, that it was topsy-turvy in a sense that it should have been the Judicial Council which should have recommended and not the Chief Justice. And that was dismissed. It was dismissed by the president and says that, look, nothing, this what you brought doesn't merit the prima facie case. So it was dismissed. So if we are doing a conjecture now, and we are talking, because for me, what I know the law says that it can be leaked. But actually, what is the petition? And the lawyers are the only people who know, because the process is in camera. Until they finish, as we get to know, or they will be able to say it is A, B, C, D. We don't even know the people who are the petitioners. apart from knowing that there's a club or association called Shining, this and that, they say they are petitioners, and the rest, you don't really know the person.
Not to cut him, okay, but unfortunately, I didn't care so much about the petitioners, except for the fact that, as it stands now, the lawyers representing the petitioner are through literally one of the strongest proponents, prosecutors of the NDC agendas. And for me, that also is worrying. We've colored it now, whether we like it or not.
Okay.
It has been colored, and I said it on this show, and people misunderstood me. You cannot say Chachukata is a neutral person in this country. Neither can you say the other lawyers are neutrals. And I cannot also come and say that former Attorney General is colorless. But admittedly, those prosecuting, those who are taking her to the cleaners, it's very difficult for me as a layperson, ordinary person, to look at the petitioner's lawyers and say that, oh, this one has no NDC premeditated, now executing. And you know, one thing I said before he came, I said that personally, I grew up knowing NDC as making judges vulnerable. And I was hoping that this era of NDC will be a new era with that stigma removed. But this path they are pursuing, they are branding themselves again as a party that makes judges vulnerable.
Okay. Let me come in. Flip side of what he said. Yes, Chachukata is an unrepentant member of the NDC, right? How about Tajo Sorry? Are we saying Tajo Sorry because we want to pigeonhole him and say he's a member of the NDC? Tajos is not a member of the NDC. He's never anywhere in any NDC fora that you see him. Vomawo is, I don't, it's a strong language maybe I may use, that anti-establishment, in the sense that Vomawo disagrees and things he says even about GHOne and the NDC. He's my brother. He's my little brother. Now, you see, once he says that they are measuring us with that rod, they forget that they are now polarizing. Who is the Chief Justice lawyer?
The former Attorney General.
So yes, the former Attorney General.
He admitted to
yes, and even the former Attorney General, is he not a card-bearing member of the NPP?
That's a known fact.
Is he not a card-bearing member? So what is wrong that if Chachukata, being a card-bearing member, also presents the petitioners? Now, the minority and other parties are the same people who demonstrated.
Who's the Speaker's lawyer?
No, the Speaker's lawyer was Thaddeus.
Sorry.
Was Thaddeus sorry? So if that is the way we want to pigeonhole
members who
now,
who
I was only asking
those who petition when this matter started and were vociferous in this matter, right? It shows that is how nobody wants to look at it and say, oh, the Chief Justice is aligned with the NPP. But by the conduct, what we are seeing, that is what it suggests. That is the irreversible constitution. No, constitution that you are seeing. That you see the optics, the perception that you think that we have. That's what we are seeing. So you see that, yes, if the NDC is being accused to be on the side of the petitioners, who are on the side of the Chief Justice? Who are the lawyers? Who are the people? I am not one. Any person can hire any lawyer of his choice. Here I am. I work for NDC. I work for NPP people. I have friends with it. I can tell you some of my best friends are in the NPP. In the sense that they are not going to contest anything with me within my party. They know my ideology. I know what they believe in. But they're my best friends. Right? And once we know each other's, where we can agree, the convergence will be, and where we depart, it makes our friendship smooth. In a sense that I know what they will agree,
Women
what they
are
will
married
disagree.
to people in opposite parties.
Right.
Oh, yes.
So,
I
you see,
mean,
when we always want to pigeonhole lawyers, right, it is about the skill. It's about what you do. It's about your ethics. There are some cases
I'm saying
you
it
can
has
say,
been colored.
yes. Look,
Now,
even the present
unfortunately.
Attorney General, whilst we were in opposition, worked for government. He worked for government. He represented government, right? And even so, we say because he was NDC at the time.
Ayini?
Ayini, yes.
No, I mean he is.
You can
NDC.
check. Yes, you
He
can
is
check the
NDC.
record.
And
So
working for government is normal.
yes. So even if you work for government, and today I decide that there is a case coming from opposition, and I want to work for the opposition based on what I have. So I think that this is where the politics is getting to polarize us. And I think that
And that's why I'm
it
worried.
is one of the things I'm also worried for the Chief Justice, in the sense that because the political spokes are being put in the wheel, right? When she has to be heard, she has to defend herself with the lawyers that will have to defend her. Because within the court of public opinion, the politics is fused with it.
And should be hanged maybe for the politics.
Yeah, you get it. But
Not
she has a
even-
right. And she will be.
Especially when lawyers are going at each other, even on
No,
social media.
What lawyers are going, Thaddeus and Dami, my seniors are going.
Won't it
For me,
overshadow the work of
that
the
is their personal issues they are
But
dealing with.
they are
But
not
that's
involved in this committee work.
The liberty is in the woman's hands to change her lawyer.
Yes, so-
or the petitioner's hand to then change.
So
her lawyer
I
to-
think that the optics will be there, but you see, what remains, and I am always confident that the committee, right, there are two judges.
which
there.
has a member who was opposed to the woman. I mean,
Which
it's just,
remember
it's just
who-
literally
you see,
very.
judges do their work. Let me come in.
No, listen.
Go
listen.
and read
Are
Salah
there
and
not-
Salah. I'm
are there not
coming.
enough
Doc, let me
legal
come.
people in
You
this
see,
country?
in Salah, when the law imposes a duty on you, you cannot say because that I've been affected by this or this is what I have to do,
There's a
I
reason-
won't do it.
there's a reason for
the law
recusing
has
yourself.
imposed something on you.
There's a reason
right?
for recusing yourself.
Yeah, so if you want to recuse yourself,
Even jurists.
there is a reason
Even
when you
jurists.
say that. But if it is about my work, right? If about the work we do, which is law, to define law or interpret the law, and we give judgment, and you say because of your work
Even
you have
jurists.
done A, B, C, D,
Even jurists.
right?
Normal
Then
jurists.
that is when you say, but if it's about my work, or unless that what he's saying is that I represented somebody when the case was at lower court. It has now traveled up because I had self-interest
there's
in
a natural
that.
bias.
Then that is when I have to say that I'm recusing myself.
That's the point I'm making
But this is
here.
a panel. A panel has sat
But you are
down,
part of the panel.
Has taken decision
You have
of the
every
panel. And you say
opportunity to
because you took a
influence.
decision. But you see, even the Chief Justice, they sat in a
Victor,
lot of cases.
Victor.
Are you getting it?
Victor.
Yes. So if that is the moral persuasion they are trying to push and
Counsel.
say because we have sat together, right, on a case, then that means that almost all the Supreme Court justices who have sat together with the suspended Chief Justice will not be able to be part of the committee.
It's almost like sitting on
But
a
the
case.
Constitution says that
Okay,
there should be
we have to
two
move on to our
Supreme
next
Court
topic. All right.
judges. So if we are saying that because they may be involved in one or another case, they should not be able to sit as a committee, then nobody within the Supreme Court will qualify because they have all sat on cases, right? They have worked together with the Chief Justice. And we are saying that maybe this case may have some bordering on another case or some other cases which will serve as a precedent will have an effect on what they are doing. Then that means most of them will have to be out. But the Constitution says that get two Supreme Court judges.
My worry.
And these two Supreme Court judges who are on, Pwamang is one of the senior most, right? Yes, Justice Asiedu is not a senior most. So the permutation, I'm sure that was done. Now they are saying that Asedu was supposed to even have sat on a case of which he was not well, or he was unavailable. I won't say he's not well because I don't know. Sorry. He was unavailable. He cannot serve on the committee. Once he had not, just he was empaneled. He hasn't come with any ruling. Nothing was said, was done, because he was empaneled by the same Chief Justice. He cannot sit on the committee. So
Lawyer,
you see,
Victor,
for me,
Lawyer Victor,
yes.
Please educate me. What are some of the circumstances under which jurors are let go? What are some of the circumstances?
Bias.
No, I want him to educate me. No. And I'm not saying judges, I'm saying jurors.
Yes,
Who
jurors.
Yes,
jurors.
So help me with my. I'm curious.
Yes, bias or likelihood of bias. Are you getting it? Or you are related, or you have an interest in the matter, or there might be a conflict
before you hear the case.
Yes, but you see, jurors are not trained as lawyers. I'm coming. Right? Maybe the relationship. That is why when it comes to judges, there is always a code of conduct. Right. Judges don't even enjoy social life. They only enjoy family life. There are places where you don't even have to find judges. Most of the places, funeral, unless you are closely related to that funeral. And then just after church service, you don't even see them. They are off. So these are the things that we may be comparing apple with oranges when we say, jurors, because it is believed that the jurors come from the community. They know each other. They may have some interest, or they may be privy to some few.
But which community are the judges?
Now, the judges also come from the same community, but you see, they are hedged.
Okay.
They have been hedged. And that is why, yes, there may be some scintilla of evidence in what maybe this man has brought that, they met. Once they met and exchanged pleasantries, then I believe that the perception is that they had a discussion based on their committee work. But the video shows that...
I haven't seen any video.
Oh, you haven't seen the video? Okay. The video has been on social media. The video shows that less than 20 seconds. It was just went and exchanged pleasantries and he came back. Is that what you are saying is a meeting? Unless there is something more that has to be brought out, right? So I think that for me, let's allow the process to go. I get worried, and I know that at the end of the day, the Chief Justice would have a right to be heard, will have a right to be defended, and anything legally, she has a right to be defended, a right to an aspect. So let's let the process go on. And I don't think that the people who sit on the committee, they have integrity.
Right.
What they do today will reflect tomorrow.
Public perception also matters.
Oh, definitely.
But let me take your few cents on the banter between Thaddeus Sori and Godfrey Dami on social media and what this means to, like you said, public perception on the committee's work.
You know, I haven't seen Thaddeus's, but I've seen Dami's. And I must say that his preamble means a lot. Per his preamble, he explains that Thaddeus has been at him on many platforms about many things, and he's, as it is, prevented himself from saying anything. For want of a better word, it is almost becoming troublesome if he doesn't air out and then call to Thaddeus's attention the fact that he's questioning his competence, and he wants Thaddeus to be aware and even not minded about the fact that he won many cases before being chosen as an Attorney General, and it is a bit unfortunate from a professional to another professional to tell him that he became a winnable or a good defense lawyer just during the period when he was an Attorney General because of the largesse of the state that he had or whatever influence he had based on the position he held. And the fact that Odomin made it clear to him that some of the international cases he won were based on merit and not by virtue of the fact that he was necessarily Attorney General. And that he had even won a case against him, Thaddeus, at some point in time when he was not, and I repeat, not an Attorney General. So it is unfair. And I really think that, not that I side necessarily with Odomin, but I really think that it's so unprofessional. I do not disrespect other doctors in front of my patient. Some doctors do. I don't. Even when I become aware that during the conduct of professional work, the doctor may have neglected something very potent, I will not disrespect the other doctor, as I talk to the patient. And I think that for professional ethics or professionalism, it is so wrong to, as it is, badmouth in public your colleague. The same thing goes with us as members of parliament. I cannot go to even an NDC member's constituency and disrespect him because we are colleagues. I may campaign against him, but not disrespect. There are levels in which you can go. So I think that they should call it a truce, and I'm hoping that the two legal minds will be a good example to those upcoming. That's my thought on it.
Counsel.
Yes, for me, I think that Dami and Thaddeus, they are two well-respected lawyers in the country. Everybody respects them very well. I think what is happening, I don't think that it has a remote cause. I think that it started way back, not today. And I think that it's time that they are venting out their anger and frustration. But I think that, yes, within the profession, we have our own ethics. And some of the issues coming out is ethical issues that we have had. Everybody has his strength. Everybody has his weakness. As professionals, I think that we cannot wash our dirty linen in public. Right. But some of the issues that had come up where I think that when Godfred was the Attorney General and during the Speaker's matter, I was in court with Thaddeus. I was assisting him. I think one of the issues, even his own seniors, Dami, I think that's one of the things that has brought up this issue. Seniors told him to keep quiet, was that even parliamentary service had approved Thaddeus to be the Speaker's lawyer. But he came to court knowing very well had that document, was aware of it, and was questioning his capability. That how was he appointed? In public. Are you getting it? Did you ever hear Thaddeus speak about Dami? Almost all they may have their own issues. But once he did that in court, and his seniors, I don't want to mention names, but I may mention one name. Who came and said, oh, Thaddeus, this thing, just leave it. Frank Davis was there. Atacha was there. They said, no, we told him that, please. Jogate was there. I was there. They said, no. This conduct.
Former Attorney General Jogate.
Yes, they were all there. That day we went for the Speaker's case. I was there. I was assisting Thaddeus. You see, once he said that, then you have breached that ethics. Where even in caucus, your seniors have told you at the bar that this is not an issue to raise in public. And you try to raise it and diminish his reputation and say that he's a busybody, that he was not engaged. When actually you knew parliamentary service has given approval and you want to ask. So he kept quiet. That is where he's also bringing issues of ethics against you. That you coached. There's never in the history of this country an Attorney General was coaching a witness to come to court to hunt his political opponent. So these are ethical issues that started coming in.
What was
right?
discovery?
Oh, but that evidence was tendered in court. When the judge, Efia, as Aribochi said, looking at the magnitude of what is happening, we think that you should recuse yourself from this matter. But he never. He went on.
Okay.
That's the result where we are seeing that maybe General Legal Counsel is coming. So for me, it is when one person wants to attack for ethical reasons and others, the two of them, their competence, I think by and large, everybody knows they are competent. For me, I think that these are ethical issues. When they are coming out, for me, the genius will learn out of it that, look, we may make a mistake. But I think that, yes, there must be a truce. But the thing is that the pain and the anger within them, whilst they are venting those out, and at the end of the day, I'm sure that some of the seniors should be able to call them and ask them, or even the bar itself, right? But whilst people will do that, it means that, excuse my language, the ego, the arrogance and everything should come to the bare minimum, that everybody will be able to say, let's submit and JHOne.
Okay.
It is better than washing our... Because we are colleagues. Whilst we are colleagues, we cannot undermine each other. But I can tell you that, no, you didn't have this right. You did this wrongly. That is why at the bar, when we go and we even argue in court, you think we are fighting. The moment we come to the bar, we step out. You see us giggling, laughing, and the clients get angry. They don't understand why the two lawyers or the professionals should be at peace with each other.
Okay.
So I think that the two of them, it is high time. I'm sure they are senior members within the party. And see, these things polarizes their politics. It becomes society polarized. Because one is perceived to belong to NDC, one is
Kotoko and Hearts of Folk.
NDC. Are you getting the MPP?
Anyway,
So
I have a few minutes to go. Let's touch on transport first. Drivers failing to comply with the directive to reduce transport fares. They claim that, well, we bought spare parts before the appreciation of the city. So why should we reduce our transport fares, even though fuel prices have been reduced? Let me take a few minutes.
Well, this is symptomatic of what we are saying as a party, that, listen, this one is not the exchange rate exposing you. The forex might be good, but people are not really feeling it in their pockets. And that is the reality on the ground. So Ghanaians are watching, and it is quite evident that government cannot, as it is, not pay contractors and not let the assembly start working and leave monies sitting and be happy that the forex is looking good. It's like a father with monies in the bank and his children are going hungry. And I think that should be looked at. Economics is not just one indicator. As it stands now, eggs, milk, ordinary groceries or produce are expensive. Bayre, yam, plantain, bodie. These are the basics in this country, and they are expensive. So the central bank, and shall I say, my senior colleague, Atuforsen, needs to be mindful of the fact that it will trickle down if the contractors are getting paid and they are paying their workers and they are then doing more work, and others will, the person selling eggs by the construction will then get something, no fuel, which then will also help her economy. So they should, as it is, stop hoarding. And then the funds they took from many institutions need to be sent back, because all those institutions are now at a standstill. I'm not just talking about the MMDCs. A lot of governmental institutions were emptied. And that is actually one of the very interesting travesties under the NDC administration, where they just came in, emptied, overnight, people's accounts, and they've not been given anything to work with. So unfortunately, many directors are sitting in the comfort of their chairs with nothing to do, literally nothing to do, because they can't spend. But contractors should be paid. People are struggling. The forex looks good on paper.
Victor.
Yes, I think the good news is that we've seen the economy. Things used to be in shambles, and things are taking a better shape. Yes, like he said, the ordinary Ghanaian wants to feel it in his pocket, and I'm sure that people who import, they go to. Saturday, I went to do my glasses, and the lady he says, "Oh, I was going to exchange the dollar that I had to send." I was just laughing. It has come down. It has cut my budget down. And he was saying, "Oh, tell the minister that he's doing well." I agree that, listen, with this economy, what they are doing now is to mop up and make sure that they can fundamentally establish the micro economy, make sure that things are put in a better shape. Okay. So what most they are doing now is the auditing of the payments, the accounts, everything, to make sure that they reset, make sure that things are done properly, and people will definitely be paid. When we say we are not spending, maybe the way we were spending recklessly, money was flying left, right, and center. I think that recently UTAG and the rest wanted to go on strike for negotiations that were done even before the new government came in. We have released money. Money is being paid. Now, for the drivers, you see, we always say it is about democracy. And some of the things that we see now, people don't want to comply, is because we are really, really practicing that democracy and giving benefit of doubt to others people. When we lived under fears, and when it is done, they say, do A, B, C, D. People were doing it. But now we give them the less participate, less jojo. I think that what the drivers are doing is that they are not being fair to Ghanaians. They are not being fair to they themselves. Because if this is the attitude that they are putting up, when the time comes, they will have to increase. And we say, no, don't increase. How would they feel? They think that this is a windfall. It's a time. There's a windfall coming in, and they will make some money. I think their moral conscience should speak to them. These are the same people, they will go to the mosque. They are the same people who go to church. They are the same people who say that they will have their devotion in the morning and before they go out and the rest. And they think that when things has been ameliorated, things have come down. And you also have to reciprocate. And you think that greed should lead. Greed, you make money. Yes, things were bought. When things were high, we were compelled and we were paying for. So now, when things are down, and you've been given instruction, directive that, look, make sure reduce goods. And you are saying that, give me some time. Just like Guta said, they should be given 2 months. When prices were going up, did Guta say, oh, let's wait for 2 months before we increase our things? No. So it's yes, I don't think that we can legislate and say, but it's the moral compulsion that the human milk in you as a person should be able to speak to your conscience and say that, do unto others what you want to be done to you. So what they do now, right, will one day definitely come back.
Are you saying this to Kulendi or who are you saying?
Oh, who's Kulendi? Justice Kulendi? No, I'm talking to the drivers.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking to the drivers.
I was just checking.
No, I'm talking to the
Lawyer
drivers.
Victor, I'm just checking.
He was just playing the devil's advocate here.
You know it's in the summary there.
Yeah, please. Don't get me into any trouble.
Anyway,
so I think that, yes, it's good. And I hope that we can continue on this track. Like the food prices, I'm sure, yes, at the time it went up, but I see them coming down a bit, and we need to do more.
Okay.
And as he said, people will have to be paid, but you should be paid for what you have worked for.
Absolutely.
Unlike the other time that money was flying left and right, and there was that
And we're bathing in a private jet. Yeah?
That you were comparing the jets.
No, I said we're bathing.
The circumstances for the jet. The jet. They're two different things.
Okay.
This one, when she
this
was
one,
coming,
it
was medical. No, it was a medical condition.
Oh, okay.
Medical condition.
Okay.
They brought them. And I'm sure that they will make it available.
Nana didn't have medical condition.
All right. Thank you very much. So that's,
I understand.
Victor Kwadjoga Adawudu is a member of the NDC legal team, and Dr. Dickson Adomako is a member of the NPP communications team. That's it for the breakfast review. I'm back shortly after this video. Stay tuned in. To the show, this is still GH Today here on GHOne TV. I am Lily Mohammed. It's now time for Health Alert. On Health Alert this morning, we're discussing schizophrenia. A lot of people have misconceptions about it. We'll try and demystify those misconceptions and myths surrounding schizophrenia. My guest this morning is Dr. Leanne Boateng. She is a psychiatrist at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
What is schizophrenia?
Okay, so before I get to that, I have to talk a little bit about mental health. So mental health is a state of well-being where one is able to cope with the normal stresses of life, able to think well, learn well, work well, and interact well. So if someone has a condition that affects how they think, how they act, and how they behave, you say the person has a mental illness. So people with schizophrenia have a condition where they are out of touch with reality, where they have problems with how they perceive differently. They may hear voices, they may think that people are out to get them, and they may be behaving unusually as compared to other people.
Is it what we usually term as having spiritual problems?
No, I mean, in our culture, so, the delusions are something that is under schizophrenia, where the people have persecutory delusions. I mean, people are out to get them. Sometimes in our cultural setting, it's appropriate for the culture. However, in people with schizophrenia, when it's out of keeping with our cultural beliefs, then we can say that, yes, this person has schizophrenia. So it's not a spiritual problem. There's a biological basis to it.
Okay, and how common is this?
Okay, so when you take every 100 people, one person out of 100 will have schizophrenia in their lifetime. And it affects both men and women equally. Mostly men get it earlier, between the ages of 15 to 25, and women get it a bit later, between 25 to 35 years. So yes, it affects men equally and women too equally, and then 1 out of 100 people may get it.
So there's the unlikelihood that somebody may get schizophrenia under age 25.
Oh, it's very possible. We have even children. So in very rare cases, we can have early onset schizo, where they get it. I've seen children between 10 and 11 years who started showing signs of having schizophrenia. We call it prodromal signs. So they become very withdrawn. They're not playing as they are not as interactive as they used to be. They're not doing well in school. Academically, they are affected. You see that they're not talking a lot. They are quiet and they keep to themselves. And they may be hearing voices. So we have early onset and we have very late onset. But commonly, it starts within the ages of 15 to 35.
Okay. But what are the common signs if somebody has schizophrenia? Let's say you live with people and then you realize. Is that something that you can easily detect?
Yes, I mean, sometimes the beginning of it is a bit hard to detect, called the prodromal signs, where at that point, a lot of people don't come to the hospital. By the time that we see people, these signs have persisted for some time. So for some people, they may be hearing voices, so no one is around them, and they are hearing voices. And you see them talking to themselves in response to the voices they are hearing. Or sometimes they're acting. So maybe they think that, you want to poison them. So then they won't talk to you. They won't be close to you anymore. So they have different perceptions because of the illness. And sometimes they may exhibit bizarre behaviors, like odd behaviors. They may neglect their personal hygiene. So someone who is always taking their shower twice a day goes 3 days, 4 days. They are not maintaining their personal hygiene, or they're keeping their room very untidy as compared to how they used to be before. So the signs are always there.
Is it synonymous to paranoia?
Okay, so we have paranoid schizophrenia, where they have, so yes, there are lots of classifications, but in the older classification, we have paranoid schizophrenia, undifferentiated simple schizophrenia. So yes, the person may be paranoid, where they think, so that they may have paranoid delusions, where they think that everyone is out to get them. I mean, the CIA is after them. They are monitoring their calls. We have patients like that. So yes, so that's a delusion, and it's out of keeping with our environment. You quiz the person, how do you think they are monitoring? Oh, I just feel because I wear a red dress, they are monitoring me. Or everybody who is wearing a red dress has been employed to go after me. All because of the illness. So they can have paranoia. Yes, they can.
But what are the causes?
Okay, so in mental health, we don't say A is equal to B exactly, but there's been a lot of research, and that shows some of the things that increases the risk. So we've seen that biologically, there are some chemicals in the brain when there are imbalances towards it at different portions of the brain. You may have schizo. So chemicals like dopamine, I don't know if you heard dopamine before, serotonin, adrenaline, all those chemicals, their excesses or imbalances can lead to schizophrenia. Also, there are theories where when a woman is pregnant, they are not eating well, poor nutrition, they're having low birth weight babies, or they are exposed to some conditions when they get pregnant can show or predispose one to getting schizophrenia. Yes, and also familiar. So if you have a family member who is very genetically close, so maybe for twins, identical twins, if one has schizophrenia, there's a 4 out of 10% chance the other twin may have schizophrenia. So it can be familial too. And there are the social factors where things like smoking. So people who smoke, 1 out of 2 of them may get schizophrenia in their lifetime. Yeah. So yes, so there are a lot of different risk factors of getting schizophrenia.
What of those who take alcohol?
Yes, alcohol, 4 out of 10 people may experience schizophrenia in one time of their life or not. Yes, so that's it. And then also we have to know that when one has schizophrenia, when we diagnose you, there are sometimes out of 4 people, one person may never get an episode again. Another person may have the episode but will still be able to work, may still be able to go about their duties with very minimal symptoms. Others too are able to work but not as well as the former group. And then there are the other ones too who go down the drain. So a lot of times you see them walking around the streets, not properly dressed, unkempt on the street. So those ones are the ones that, sometimes they don't receive the right treatment or they are defaulting treatment and then they go down the drain. So we really need social support.
So it's not everybody on the street who is, for want of a better expression, who wabodam.
Yes. So now we don't say that again. We say mentally disabled. So and a lot of people on the street. So that's why we need everyone to know about schizophrenia, because a lot of the people on the street, when you bring them in, you give them injections, you start their treatment, they get all the love and support. They start to talk. I mean, we had a patient who said she walked all the way from Cote d'Ivoire to Ghana. And she's able to remember her name. She's able to remember where she lived. So you could see that when the symptoms started, they took her to the riverside and left her there. There was no support for her. So we cannot say for sure, but we know that when you come and get the right treatment, right support, you see they are getting better. So
by getting better, is this treatable or you just manage it for the rest of your life?
So more commonly than not, it's a lifelong disease. Okay. But as I said earlier, 1 out of 4 will never get the symptoms again. So if on treatment, they'll never ever have an episode again. However, the 3 remaining may have symptoms for the rest of their life, which can be managed with proper treatment and social support. Yes, so that's it.
Because of the nature of the condition, many people shy away from these patients. How does it affect them? Stigmatization against them. Even when you mentioned that 1 out of 4, right, will not see the symptoms again. How then are they reintegrated in society after people know about their condition?
So stigma is something that we really need to talk about and know how extensive it is. So stigma is a negative attitudes and beliefs that people have towards people with schizophrenia in this case. And there are different types of stigma. So we have the public stigma, where everybody has the myths. Everybody has maybe spiritual or different causes, the myths that we have. We have the cultural stigma, where, for instance, instance, before one marries, they go into the culture to make sure, families to make sure that, there's no history of schizophrenia, or shy away from marrying people from this family because of schizo. And then we have the perceived myth where people with the schizophrenia think that because of all these talks going around, people will treat them negatively. Okay. So then they have self-stigma, where they stigmatize themselves, they have low self-confidence, would rather not come to the hospital because you don't want to label them. So, And then we have professional stigma, where when they go to other facilities, just because they have schizo, they refuse to treat their malaria or their typhoid. They say, go to the psychiatric hospital. They put everything on the schizophrenia. And then we have stigma in institutions. So they are working, and because of the episode, they are not being promoted, even though they are doing well. They are not being supported at work. They are not giving their leave, like they are not treated well at work, all because of the stigma.
So how do we as a society help these people?
So as a society, there are so many levels to it. Number one, education. Like what we are doing now, we have to bust all the myths and put the knowledge out there that there's a scientific basis to this illness. It's not just spiritual. It's not just there's a familial component to it, but then there's treatment. So we have to break the myth. Also, we have to treat people who have schizophrenia nicely. I mean, the fact that you have schizophrenia doesn't mean that you cannot get upset. When they get upset, you be like, we are no. We give derogatory remarks. We have to shy away from that. Give them enough emotional support them to come for treatment, support them to come to the hospital. At work, don't lay them off. Okay. I mean, so if they have to come for reviews, don't say you've missed 2 days out of this month, so I'm taking out of your salary. There have to be policies in place to support people with mental illnesses, especially chronic ones like schizophrenia. So that's how we can, go. And then we have to talk freely about it. Someone has to be able to say, I have schizophrenia, I'm on treatment, I'm doing well, and not be seen to be or labeled in the society. So that's how we can support people with schizophrenia.
So please, let's support people living with schizophrenia. And please stop smoking and drinking. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's Dr. Leanne Boateng. She is a psychiatrist with the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. We're back shortly after this breather. Stay tuned in. Welcome back to the show. Let's still stay on health alert. This morning, we're discussing allergies. A lot of you like throwing the word around, but very often they may not necessarily be allergies. Let's allow the health expert discuss this further with us. Dr. Hilary Andor is the president of the Allergy Society of Ghana. They also have an allergy conference coming up. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. And you?
I'm doing awesome. Right. How does one know that I have allergies?
That's an interesting question. I hear this every day with people telling me I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that. I have a rash when I eat this, but I've eaten it before. So there are some of those reactions that are allergies, and there are others that are actually not. But just to break down the definition of allergy, okay, so if we say somebody is allergic to something, it means that under normal circumstances, the general population should be able to tolerate that substance. But if you are allergic to it, it means that your body has an exaggerated response or inappropriate response to that foreign substance for which you react to it. This can mimic other things that are intolerances, but not necessarily allergies. So intolerances can happen in anybody who doesn't have allergic or atopic predispositions. If we say atopic, it means that just by your genetic makeup, you are predisposed to having certain allergies, okay? And if we say allergies, we are talking about certain allergic conditions. So it can involve various organ systems. So allergic rhinitis, where the person wakes up and is always sneezing, she's snotty or he's snotty at night, cannot sleep, is mouth breathing because the nostrils are blocked. They always have this runny nose, and people would say, I always have a cold. I always have a cold. And they always think it's just a usual cold, but it may be allergic rhinitis. Of course, other things can mimic it. You also have allergies in the eyes, okay? And they rub the eyes very frequently. The eyes look brownish, and then sometimes get swollen, sometimes it's watery. Then we have when it affects the skin, then we call it atopic eczema, or most people will say atopic dermatitis or eczema. And that is a recurrent rash. The rash can be in different forms. It may either be the skin looking a bit lighter than it usually is, or sometimes it's peeling or crusting. You can be helped by a health professional to distinguish that from other causes of rash. You also have food allergies, which our population now would always, most people would say, I'm allergic to this food, allergic to that food. Now, the food allergies are in our population as well, but those must be teased out specifically by a health professional, because some may actually not be food allergies. They may be other reactions that are not necessarily allergy. And then in a minority in our population, probably because we haven't looked at it so much, as drug allergies. And so some people may be allergic to specific drugs or specific medications. And those may also be different from the usual side effects of medications. So there can be a lot of mimics of allergy. But if we say you're allergic to something, you have that specific, you have a reaction to that specific food or medication or environmental allergy. So some people may have house dust mite allergy, some may have grass allergy, some may have cockroach allergy, and they are specifically reacting to cockroach. And that may worsen their nasal symptoms, may worsen their asthma symptoms, because you have allergic forms of asthma as well. And we have asthma very prevalent in our population as well, where the patient is always having shortness of breath, sometimes at night. exercise intolerance, they play a bit and the child starts coughing immediately after playing and needs an asthma medication to make it better. So those are some of the usual allergies we have.
What do people who have allergies have to do? Is it something you can easily tell?
Well, some people can
or you
tell.
have to be diagnosed.
Well, some people can tell, but then confirmation of that would have to be with a medical person. And so those who can easily tell are usually the people who may have the very severe symptoms. So if I give an example, you have never eaten peanuts. And then the first time you eat peanuts, this is maybe peanut without anything, because of course, if you are eating a mixed meal, there are so many factors that may have accounted to whatever reaction you had. But the first time you are eating peanut, you blow up into hives. So you have all these bumps on your body immediately, your mouth swells, or you have difficulty in breathing immediately after. That may suggest it. It doesn't mean it always is allergy. It could be due to something else. You probably eat peanut another time, you get the same reaction. Then that is suggestive. You need to see a health professional. With the other conditions I described and the symptoms I described in them too, those are suggestive. But ultimately, you need a health professional diagnosing you of that condition, because it may mimic other conditions that you may not have found out.
So for people who have topical allergies like eczema, for instance, what are some of the things they should avoid?
And so eczema is actually a dysfunction of the skin barrier. So when you have eczema, what it is our skin barrier is likened to a brick wall. That's the simplest way to say it. And when you have a brick wall, you need mortar or cement to keep the wall tight. But when you have eczema, your body has mutations of the protein that produces that cement or that keeps the wall tight. And therefore, you have this very loose brick wall. You have an impaired barrier dysfunction. And so what happens is that this allows the skin the opportunity to get viruses in, bacteria in, irritants in, and then you lose more water from the skin than you need to. So you have this vicious cycle of a dry, itchy skin, which you scratch. That's the basis of eczema. Now, keeping that in mind, it means that you need something that artificially helps to restore that skin barrier or help you. And so those with eczema, the major way of managing is using what we call emollients or moisturizers. Those should be applied very, 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 very frequently. In our environment, shea butter is an excellent one. Some people look down on shea butter, but it's excellent. Natural shea butter is. There are also other moisturizers on the market that are being sold. Then those with eczema also should try to avoid irritant soaps. I won't mention any, but you need milder soaps that are not too harsh on the skin. Then there are times that you have quiet days of the eczema where you'd say, my skin looks good today, no rash. There are times that you have very tiring days where the flares come in. And when the flares come in, you need a health professional to help manage the flares with other medications. And so there's a caution to the public too that topical steroids are not the mainstay of eczema management. Start with moisturizers. If you have flares, seek help from a professional. Then also wearing cotton clothes that can soak sweat easily rather than clothes that keep the sweat on the skin is way better. So that's one of the things.
You have an upcoming conference.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. When is it? Who can attend?
So it's this Thursday and Friday, 29th and 30th of May at the Alisa Hotel, North Ridge. It's a conference tailored towards health professionals, specifically clinicians who are on the forefront of managing people with allergies. There are different cadres of clinicians, ranging from specialists to specialist nurses, specialist doctors, all the way through the various cadres of health staff. There are some pharmacists who will be attending as well. And mainly this conference is themed allergy diagnosis and management, getting the basics right. So it's aimed at training the health professional to be able to diagnose better and to be able to educate their patients better.
Okay, so anybody at all can attend? Is it open to the public? Is it free?
No, it's not free, and it's not open to the public. Actually, the slots are full, but it's aimed specifically for a group of people. So that's the health professionals who manage patients with allergy on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you too.
Any other thing you want to add?
I would want to use this platform to appeal to the public. What I see on a regular basis is now individuals walk to labs and say, maybe because I had a rash, I'm going to do an allergy test. So an allergy test doesn't diagnose you of allergy. An allergy test just gives you values. And those values just talk about something we call sensitization. So the value can be the same in two individuals, but it's interpreted differently based on whichever clinical history each individual has. So this is a plea to the public. If you think you have an allergic condition, seek help from the appropriate quarters, and the right test, if indicated, will be written for you. And not all of them actually need allergy tests. And then also, if you have eczema, it doesn't mean you should avoid all foods. Just based on the allergy tests you've had. Some patients with eczema, actually only 2 out of 10 people with eczema may have coexistent food allergy. But those are chosen carefully, and then what is to be done with the withdrawal of foods are also determined very carefully.
Okay. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you too for
Dr.
hosting
Hilary
us.
Ando. She's the president of the Allergy Society of Ghana. We are back shortly with some celebrations.
who give direction, who helps someone to find their feet. That is a counselor, in a simple layman's term.
So, guiding somebody to find their feet, pastors are leading a flock. Is a pastor automatically a counselor?
Yes, from the path or the place I'm coming from. I've lived in UK for nearly 25 years. Pastored for, this is my 15th year of pastoring in UK. And it's a big issue, and it's a very great question, because a lot of pastors have found themselves in big mess in UK. Whilst you have the experience to advise someone, you are not automatically called a counselor in UK, simply because it's a professional body.
Right.
And you need to be specialized in that area. So many people are married, and straight away they call themselves counselors. You can give a pastoral care, but you are not a counselor, simply because you must go through the right empirical method of becoming a counselor. So a lot of pastors in UK have gotten themselves into big mess, and I know a lot of them, because in the UK, I've been doing counseling, or because of the place I am, let me use the word, marriage counseling, for over 15 years. But in the UK, I call myself pastoral. I'm giving what is called pastoral care. Because if someone comes to my office, and they need counseling, I do marriage counseling, everything. I marry people, English people, Europeans, all kind of different races. But I use the word pastoral care so that when I am taken to the court, I've already set my boundaries.
Right.
That I'm not a professional counselor, but I have the knowledge. Why do I do that? Because my background is I'm having a qualification in counseling, in psychotherapy. I studied at BCAP, Warwick University, for a full 1 year. But even though with my qualification, I'm still not qualified counselor, because I need to do extra 3 years. But the biggest issue we have on our continent, anybody who starts ministry, even whether they are married, their marriage has broken down, they themselves are struggling to deal with issues, attitude, character in their marriage, they call themselves counselors. And they don't have anybody that regulate or satisfy them as a qualified counselor. And this is a big issue. It's a big issue. So I don't know how.
What are the risks of this particular phenomenon? I mean, everybody, especially for churches who have prophets, the prophets set up counseling sessions and people go in there. It's like a clinic. They pay money. They go there. The prophets will tell them what they want to tell them, give them solutions. And we find wives of pastors now becoming certified counselors in the church.
Yeah. You see, we are living on a continent which I call it, forgive me, it's a mess. A lot of things don't work on our land. Laws don't work here. People say, oh, the law, when it gets you, then you know it works. Nothing works here. From the airport to everywhere I've been for 4 weeks now, it's a mess. Now, we have pastors whose wife automatically becomes what? Counselors. Now, within the religious sector, people have set up institutions, recognized institutions, such as Bible schools. Theology, by God's grace, I'm a Bible scholar. I also hold 3 years theology degree as a theologian from Roehampton University. But I couldn't have called myself a theologian if I haven't gone through the empirical ways of becoming a theologian. I've been in ministry for 15 years. I didn't earn apostleship by a day. Now, the biggest issue, as I've already stated, is this. What happened? The danger that comes is that when someone just starts calling themselves counselors, and there is no rules governing the church or the body of Christ, this is the issue. Anything you come to me for consultation and counseling, some people in this country, they even pay money. Unbelievable. And pastor's wife are collecting money, taking money. Men of God are also doing the same. Now the question is, where did they get that belief system or philosophy or the qualification in doing what they are doing? The fact that you have a church, you are allowed, as I have already stated, you are allowed to give what is called bless you, what is called pastoral care. No one can desist you from that. But the moment you shift from the church setting, that you are called a marriage counselor. Now, I don't know the institution that run the counseling body in Ghana should call you to question it.
Okay.
Oh, yes. The body, the counseling body in Ghana should call such a person to question it.
Should they be going to churches, to check these things? Because very often it happens in churches. Somebody's going to get married and the next minute they are referring you to the counselors in the church who have no certification whatsoever.
Now, this is the difference. If within the church, as I said, within the church has the right to counsel people. And I've stated, it is called pastoral care.
Okay.
Every pastor can, if they have. Because there are many pastors, my dear, they are disqualified. I have pastors, apostles, bishops, and they are struggling in marriage. I sit with them like we're sitting. We talk for hours. They are having marital issues. How do you deal or give a counseling to somebody? That's the question. A lot of people come to me by grace in UK and preside Coventry. I have a good success rate in marriage. Why do a lot of people come to me? Not just black people. In our church, we have 8 nationalities.
Okay.
Right now, I've been in Ghana 4 weeks. I'm still offering pastoral care in line with marriage counseling to English people straight from here and marrying 2 people, 7 from 14. Polish girl and her husband to be, and an English guy and a Nigerian-born Italian. Why do they come to me? They said I have a good success rate in counseling. Why? Because my marriage is an example to them. I'm not just a pastor. I have a good marriage. But if you are a pastor, a bishop, an apostle, archbishop, you are struggling in your marriage, how do you then qualify to give people counseling? You yourself need counseling simply because...
But Christianity is not perfection.
It's true, but it's also about leadership.
Right.
Christianity is inspiration, faith. Faith. This is why Africa, we are struggling. That's why the poverty rate and everything is still high. Because faith is inspiration and perspiration. Right. What do I mean? Faith must be proven by action. That is why when you study the accounts of Paul and James, there were that paradox of argument, because Paul talks about grace and James spoke about faith. That faith without action is what? Dead. So if you're a Christian, you are the mark of the world. You are the light of the world. You must be the example to the unbelievers. So if I am struggling to live right, I understand all human beings, we have weaknesses. I'm not a perfect man. But what set me apart is my ability to recognize my weakness and work on it as a leader. My dear, before I came, I was running a leadership seminar in UK. And a question that was asked was about leadership integrity. And I said to the whole leaders in the room that by God's grace, it will never happen. Per adventure, if it would have happened to me. They were asking the question of a lot of pastors, they commit adultery and still stand on the pulpit to preach. And I said to them, if that is me, I will come off the pulpit for 1 year if I had committed adultery against my wife. The leadership will know, my wife will know, I will step outside the pulpit for 1 year. Simply because as a leader, I have failed. Number 2, I am not in the right frame of mind. Number 3, and I will ask you, will you have a surgery with a surgeon who has had, let's say, 3 surgeries and killed the people?
No, obviously.
You will never. And that is the honest truth we have to care. Everybody in that seminar was quiet. How many pastors have integrity to say that I've committed adultery? I have to step outside the pulpit because I need to deal already by fact. The fact that you have committed adultery shows that you have issue with yourself. You have a character problem. So you need to deal with yourself. But we live on a continent because of poverty is driven. Everywhere the Bible rich in this world, poverty is also a driving force of religion. Many people are poor. They go to church here. We give them false hope. And I said on Friday that my pain about Africa, I'm like the weeping prophet for this land. Since I came here, people go to church 7 days, praying to a God to come down and bless them. God is not going to do anything again. He has already finished. So I don't understand. What kind of continent are we living in? People use working hours going to church to pray. They make so much noise. Since I came, I was in Cape Coast. I couldn't sleep, my dear. I was in the hotel. There was a church behind. 5 days, morning, evening, afternoon, night, they were praying and making a whole lot of noise. So we have a big problem. The fact that someone is a pastor, a reverend minister, does not automatically qualify them to be a marriage counselor. You can give pastoral care to your church members. That is within the church settings. But the moment you come out the church boundaries, in court, call yourself a marriage counselor, you have to prove by qualification which awarding body qualified you to be a certified marriage counselor. And you have to be brought to book. You have to be questioned if we have the right bodies working in this nation. Yes, because you can't just wake up and call yourself a marriage counselor.
So how
can do that
should those of us in the media especially deal with these people?
How do you deal with them? To be honest, I don't live in this part. I've spent most of my years in Europe. But sometimes it's very hard for you guys, and it's not also hard. Because one of the things is I've realized people move in this country by popularity.
That's right.
That is one of the biggest things I have learned since coming to Ghana. Because a person is popular, you can't talk about them. Oh, even when a man of God is wrong, you can't talk about them. In Europe, by grace, I've lived in most countries, spent my formative years, studied, been to university. I've studied, I'm well informed. It doesn't matter who you are, you be in court. Before coming to Ghana, we have a man of God, very famous Ghanaian man of God. He's been sentenced to 7 years in prison in UK, in London, by using the church to defraud the system in UK. And other 3 pastors. I know men of God who have run away. Some have been deported to Ghana because of their act of what they've done. But here, since they came, the whole nation is hailing them because they came from Europe. Here you move by popularity. Great leaders don't move by popularity. We talk in Europe, we talk about everything. We sentence everyone. The law, it doesn't matter who you are. And I mentioned on Friday, I had a speeding ticket. I was driving. I got caught speeding some years back. I wrote a letter to DVLA to tell them who I am and what I do with the police, the council. And I help, one of the things I do in Europe, UK, is that I help the council and the police to fight against knife crime. And I've been doing this over 16, 17 years. So I wrote to them that I'm so sorry, so I do apologize for what I have done. But because of what I do accept my responsibility for speeding. But it will never happen again. They wrote me back and said, because I'm a leader, I'll be more disciplined and punished. I was taken to court. Since I have been into Ghana, my dear Lily, do you know what has happened? Every police officer who stopped me asked me for money. Whether I had license, whether I don't have, I was driving a DV plate, driving a car with a DV plate. In Kumasi, nearly 10 police officers stopped me. And the moment they stopped me, oh, Daddy, we just want something to eat. That's it. One police officer stopped me in Swami Runabout in Kumasi. And the moment he stopped me, he said, oh, you're using DV, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden, I was going for a meeting. It was one of the biggest names on the land. And the person called me and said, Apostle, where are you? I said, I've been stopped by the police. He said, I'm using DV plate. And he mentioned his name. All of a sudden, the police officer, sir, yes, boss, I'm sorry. Is that your brother? He said, yes. Sorry, sir. And this is the words of the police officer. Apostle, wherever you get to, if any police officer pulls you, mention his name, the whole Ghana, every police officer will let you go. So there is no law And every police officer who stopped me, just stopped me. Oh, Daddy, Papa, we just need something to eat. I was shocked. I called a police officer who was standing on the road. And I intentionally stood with this police officer asking a few questions for 30 minutes. I saw these cars or tricycle, Pragia.
Yeah.
I was shocked, my dear. 12 students, kids, packed on this Pragia, no seatbelts. We saw trotro.
But do those tricycles have seatbelts? I don't know. Maybe something.
You can do that in UK.
I can interrogate.
I asked the police officer, these children are going to die. If this Pragia turns or have an accident now, 12 kids, some of them I took picture. No seatbelt, 12 people sitting on this small. The police officer told me, Openyi, here we can do nothing. Trotro, school bus, you call it Trotro, had packed about 70 kids. It's meant to take about 14, 15 kids. I said to the police officer, look, they are going, the kids' lives are in danger. He says, Openyi, Apostle, that's a school bus. We can do nothing. I said, so how do, and then these are the same people going to church to pray. Some of the taxis I saw in Kumasi, they put God is my savior. God will save me. And these taxis I saw packed about 8 to 10 people in a taxi that is meant to seat 5 people. And we said that God will help us. What kind of generation and what kind of country do we live in? I saw a police officer standing, and I said, Mama, look, there was a lady driving a car, and she had her baby about 1 year on her lap. Driving, and a baby on her lap. I was shocked. You can't do that in Europe. It will not even occur to you. You won't think or dream about it.
But even here, it's not done. I'm wondering.
I saw a whole lot of things in Ghana. I've seen a lot of things that I can't get my head around. And the police officers, I had a chat, as I said, and the man said, we can do nothing. So, is there laws in this country or not? We want freedom. I have a book coming out called African Pathway to Freedom.
Okay.
Yes, by God's grace, I'm an author. I've written about 8 books.
Oh.
Yes.
What do you write about?
I write about a whole lot of things. I write Christian book, personal development books. I have a new book coming out, Unleashing Your Potential.
Okay.
Another book coming out soon this year, The Authority of Kingdom Faith. I have The Power of Effective Leadership. I have a book coming on marriage because I wrote my dissertation on marriage and divorce when I was at the university. So I love to talk a lot about marriage because a lot of the Christian body, the men of God, they get it wrong. And we don't even know about marriage.
What's the fundamental reason why they're getting it wrong?
Fundamental reason for divorce? There is a lot of reasons. And vice versa, when you live in Europe, I'll talk about Ghana, but universal principles or issues why people get divorced. Some are financial issues. Lack of trust. I have sat with married couples. There is nothing I haven't seen in marriage that causes divorce. Possibly, unless the people are not yet born. I have seen it all. Lack of trust. Wrong premises. In Europe, it's very common. People get married because someone has papers. Someone is doing well financially. In Ghana, or the world, is to say, the wrong premises is one of the biggest issues in Europe. So when people get married based on papers, that means that marriage doesn't have a foundation. And those marriages, a lot of the time, my dear, they end up in divorce. They end up in divorce because it is a marriage that is based on condition. Absolutely. And many cannot handle. Lack of trust. People who lied. Are you married? No. Do you have kids back home? And they have. But because they are looking for something. I know a lady who got married, and the guy had already about 7 kids. He didn't tell the lady. Some of them is also abuse. Abuse. Women, in the part I come from, it will shock you that women abuse men more than anything. Because you know why? The law in the UK, Europe favors and protects women. So there's a whole lot of character issue, but a whole lot of things. Some people also divorce because lack of children in the marriage. And a lot of men will commit or infidelity outside the marriage. Some of them is also lack of character, fornication, adultery. And many cannot stand. So from my research, I wrote my dissertation on marriage and divorce. I concluded in my dissertation that the greatest cause of divorce is lack of character. 99%. Because if people have the right attitude, there is nothing they cannot work out in marriage. That is why marriage is not for boys and girls. Marriage demands maturity. Now the word maturity means character. If you are not mature, you can be a bishop, archbishop, whatever you call yourself, you will end up in divorce.
Okay.
You end up. Because marriage is about character. And knowing you have weakness, your wife has weakness, we are going to work on it. We don't have a perfect marriage, my wife and I, because we are better. You know why? We have a great marriage because we've chosen to work on our character, on our weaknesses. And until we die, we are going to work on our character. My parents, my dear, they are married for over 47 years. When they got married, they didn't even have what is called marriage counseling. And I also believe when two people fear God, there is nothing they cannot work out in their marriage. Pride is also lack of character.
Okay.
Pride causes a lot of, especially the bishops, the archbishop, the apostles. They tell their wife, who do you think, to correct me? If you are not humble, you can't marry. If you are not humble, you can't what?
You can't marry.